Day 5 of Steelers OTAs here from the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. We're indoors today, so no shades today.
But I got them if you really want it. Just
yeah,
just to maybe we'll just accessorize. There we go.
Okay, there you go. So the shades are still here on him. For me, they're in my pocket right now because it was raining today. It was a little slippery, but plenty to talk about today. I think more so, when we get to the second week of OTAs, Alan, it's less about the players and more specifically when you have an offense that is, being installed, more about finding out what the coaches are like and getting to see how they take. Well, we're finding a lot about Arthur Smith this week. You talk with Jalen Warren. I've talked to a bunch of guys over the past weeks. I wrote a big thing in Takeaways yesterday just about Arthur Smith. Very different to me from what Matt Canada did. And I don't even think it's, it's like super things that most OCs don't do. I think the detail he coaches with, he's a little bit more fiery in practice. It seems like the detail is there, though. Every time I talk to guys, the two words that I hear a lot are accountability, detail. There is not a question, and this is how it was put to me by a few guys, there's not a question of why we're doing something on this play, how you attack this look. There's an answer for everything, and everybody knows what's going on. So it seems like that's a big difference so far.
Yeah, Jalen Warren said he thinks he sees guys playing with more intensity, guys more bought in to what's going on. And I think that's a big deal. Look, it's one thing if you're, at the high school or college level, when you're the coach, hey, here's what we're going to do. Why? Well, it doesn't matter because I said so. And I'm not saying that's how Matt Canada was, but I think there's a different level of explanation of saying, hey, here's why we're doing this, here's what we think this is going to do to the defense, here's how we think this may open up some different things for you as we move forward from Arthur Smith to the players. And I think the players are responding to that with a different level of buy-in and a different level of intensity at this part of the offseason. Look, I mean, if we're to grade where the offense is compared to the defense, I think the defense is still way ahead.
Oh, for sure.
As it naturally should be. But I think we're seeing some really positive signs about the buy-in for this offense, and the difference is that the changes that they've made, I guess, from the offense last year to the offense this year.
Yeah, I think all three new assistants, Tom Arth, Zach Azzani, and Arthur Smith, all have some fire and spunk to their coaching styles. I think that actually fits really well with Eddie and Alfredo Roberts. I think those guys have always had a little edge to how they coach. Pat Meyer's kind of the laid back of that group, but I think it meshes well together. The staff is fiery. They demand effort. They do, so much to demand so much. And so I think that's kind of somewhere where we're seeing growth. Again, the details, man, like last year, I think we would always talk about specifically, false starts, illegal shifts, just minute 5-yard penalties.
Guys running the wrong routes.
Right.
2 receivers in the same place. All this stuff.
The actual coordination of the offense last year was not good. And, you can say whatever you want about Matt Canada's inherent scheme and his play calling, but a coordinator has to coordinate. That is a big part of it. I always thought the level of detail on the defensive side of the football compared to the offensive side the last 2 years has been so drastically different. I think the defense always knows the why, the how. Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin get down to that, and I didn't think Matt Canada did. And again, I think that's just the basic thing you should be doing as an offensive coordinator. I think it's to prevent stuff like running the route and into the same area. Probably some of that.
I think you may actually see a bigger difference on that kind of stuff than you will X's and O's. And I'll talk about some X's and O's stuff too, because I do think, we've noticed some stuff, but I saw from, talked to Jalen Warren today. He said, look, we're going to be catching the ball more. If you look one video up here on the YouTube channel, you're going to see Najee Harris and Jalen Warren taking receiving reps with Russell Wilson, split all the way outside the numbers, all the way over to the end of the field. And so that's not something we've seen before. I ran their statistics last year. Last year, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren combined for 112 targets. Last year, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier were 109. So you're thinking, okay, not that much difference. But Algier had 8.7 yards per reception. He was the lower of the two. Robinson was over 10. Harris and Warren were 6 and 5.9. Those were all checkdowns. Those were all screens. Those were all little. You're going to see these guys involved in the down the field part of the passing game, which is something I haven't seen. I think they're really excited about.
I think that's an interesting part. And I do think, Najee and Jalen are probably a better receiving duo than Algier and Bijan.
Yeah. I think Najee Harris's receiving ability, I understand that they have 2 running backs, and they wanted to find the things that they're best at. And obviously, Jalen is sort of the specialist in terms of being not just a receiver, but as a pass down back. He's a great pass protector and that kind of thing. But It's not like Najee Harris can't do it. It's not like Najee Harris can't be right.
All over the Alabama.
He could totally be a big part of receiving game too.
Remember how much he was fed in 2021 his rookie year. Ben Roethlisberger.
He went from 440 some yards receiving to like 180 last year. Like there's way more on the table there, and I think I've said it before. I think the best way forward involves playing 2 running backs at the same time. We'll see. Even if I had seen that, I couldn't tell you, but we'll see. I think that's something they need to look at.
Something else I've talked to guys like Pat Fryermuth and Connor Hayward and MyCole Pruitt, kind of about the tight ends in this offense. I think that's another thing.
I talked to Hot Rod today, too, about that.
How 12, 13 personnel heavy they are. The motion that they use to get strength and weak and run different looks and mess with defenses with motion. Motion in Arthur Smith's offense before the snap is almost, it's there every play. At the snap, a little less common, but it's there every play, really. Whether that's a wide receiver insert coming in to condense the set, switching sides, an exchange, whatever it is, there's almost always some type of motion, and the tight end has a ton of it. You look at Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts last year, I think they had the 3rd most targets per game last year among tight ends. The Steelers were much further down. So that should be a big increase for guys like Pat Fryermuth. I think you should see more Darnell Washington in the red zone, specifically as a weapon. I think Darnell, for whatever you think of what he did last year, did not do much in the receiving game. And I thought that they kind of misused him in the red zone. I think he can be a weapon in the red zone. MyCole Pruitt was talking to me. He's been in this offense for 6 years. He said the red zone, that's where, the tight ends can really shine. You can spread them out. You can condense them. You play. So Arthur Smith's offense is going to be an inside-out first offense. The West Coast and other things like that are outside-in offenses, but Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, all those guys play inside-out. Steelers are going to be like that. Arthur Smith, I think it's kind of under the radar, is part of the Sean McVay tree because he coached under Matt LaFleur and has taken most of what LaFleur does and is basically a branch of that tree. So we're going to see a lot of similar tenets to those kind of offenses. That's where your X's and O's come in, the condensed formations, the motion, get free releases, middle of the field, big routes.
Ronnie Williams used the word deception, I think, when we were talking, just about not being able to let defenses key on what they're doing. Last thing I want to talk about, talk to James Daniels. It is a contract year for him. We've talked a little bit about some of those guys, the different approaches, right? Cam Hayward's not here, Najee Harris, James Daniels, Pat Fryermuth is, and JD said they're not talking right now, that they're not going to come to an agreement on anything before the season, and that he's been told that, and that he's going to go into the year entering the last year of his deal. So I think that's pretty big news. Interested to see what the reaction is to that. And I think, look, we talked about the guard market. I think he's in a position to cash in if he has another good year.
Definitely, and they prepared for this. They drafted, Mason McCormick for a reason. So that's probably part of it. We'll kind of see how it goes. These extensions before the season, they have so many expiring contracts. Daniels is one of them. Fryermuth, Harris, all 3 quarterbacks. Cam Hayward, obviously, the situation.
Maybe Jalen Warren.
Yeah, who knows? I think they will get at least one done. I think we would all agree right now, just given the situation at hand, Cam's probably the most likely, but would I be surprised if at training camp we get a Pat Fryermuth extension? Not really. But it seems like Daniels is not high on the pecking order. They drafted, again, they did succession drafting right there. They drafted Mason McCormick. And so I'm sure they would love to have Daniels back beyond this year, but they're prepared for this. It really does seem like they are prepared for James Daniels to walk if that happens. And you see some of the markets, man.
Just look at Kevin Dotson's deal.
Look at Robert Hunt getting 20 a year.
Yeah.
Damian Lewis getting very similar money. With the influx of elite interior rushers, interior guards are getting paid more and more, and the Steelers probably just want to keep that a little bit down. They're going to have to pay guys like Pickens and quarterbacks coming at some point, right? That's probably what also they're budgeting for a little bit, whether that is one of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields or someone else. So there's a lot to budget for. Next year, James Daniels doesn't seem like he's in the plans yet, but we'll see kind of how that comes to fruition. We'll be back here tomorrow for day 6 of Steelers OTAs. Hopefully we have some nicer weather tomorrow. It was terrible out there today, but for Nick Farabaugh, Alan Saunders, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and read the stuff at SteelersNow.com.